I don't need to tell you, do I, that despite Labor's pre-election promise to cut your power bills, well, they've only gone up and up in recent years. And I'm sorry to say, it's only going to get worse with confirmation this morning that the cost of generating electricity rose 31%, so rose a third in the 3 months to June. Now, that's a near record increase, and it should come as no surprise to anyone because while wind and solar is cheap and plentiful, when the wind is blowing and the sun's shining, well, we need power 24/7, which means that there has to be dispatchable backup power. So power that can be turned on and off quickly and made available. And that sort of dispatchable power is getting more and more expensive all the time as we close down coal-fired power stations and fossil fuel prices soar because Labor green bans on new mines and new gas fields affect supply. But it's all okay, says the Prime Minister, because the Albanese government will, within 7 years, have moved our power supply from currently the 1/3 coming from renewables to fully 4/5 to come from renewables. Now, how that makes our power cheaper is beyond me because the government's never been able to make their claim that renewables are cheap stack up, given that every watt of power generated in a paddock on a windy day has to be transmitted to where it's needed, and it's the transmission costs and, of course, the power storage that's the killer. But expensive or not, reliable or not, it has to happen because that's what the Parliament has legislated. Now, let's leave aside for a moment the small problem, or not so small problem, of keeping the lights on when the wind isn't blowing, the sun isn't shining. And let's ignore for a second the fact that the cost of these new transmission lines, around $100 billion plus, will all be passed on to you as a consumer via higher power bills. And the sorry fact too that nearly all of the 22,000 solar panels we need to be installed every day and the 40 large wind turbines we need to be installed every month just to get those 2030 targets, well, they all come from our strategic competitor and trade predator, China. What about all the extra copper and nickel and cobalt and lithium that we'll need to produce the solar panels and the batteries that this so-called green revolution will require? In order to accommodate just the desired rollout of electric vehicles, so just the cars, not even the solar panels or anything else, economist Adam Crichton writes in the Australian today that the mining and processing of these minerals, quote, would need to increase by several 1,000% by 2040. That's why, despite all the hype about an energy transition, just 3% of the world's energy came from renewables last year. Just 3%. And that's why the government's target of 82% renewables in Australia by 2030 is simply not going to be met, can't be met, legislated or not. It's why I say again, this is just a massive con on taxpayers. Meanwhile, the government's answer to power price pain is to use more of your money they could spend on roads and hospitals, to subsidise the power bills of 5 million households and 1 million businesses. Now, wouldn't it be so much better just to change the policies that are driving our power bills in the first place, saving you money as a household and a taxpayer?